There's not a single other category of comedy that comes anywhere close to as dark and as grim as satire, except black comedy.
What do you mean by that?
Which goes to Fumbah.
So yeah, I wouldn't say it's black comedy, but it's damn near close. But today I'll be talking about Judd Apatow's 2008 film Funny People. So the film focuses on our protagonist George Simmons, played by Adam Sandler, and Ira Wright, played by Seth Rogen. George is a retired stand-up comedian with no close ties to friends or family, but has found an immense financial success by making shit movies for kids.
Children.
He's also incredibly depressed.
Awkward.
Things take a drastic turn for the worse when he is diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia and is offered an experimental drug that only has an 8% success rate.
Super light material you got here.
Now, Ira is a struggling stand-up comedian who is jealous of his friends/roommate's success and dreams of making it big in comedy. So yeah, what are your thoughts?
I mean, certainly the lightest of
I
material.
think it's pretty
Oh,
work.
yeah. I really think anytime you bring in like leukemia,
It's always a good time.
Oh my goodness,
It's
you
super
know,
funny.
Yeah. I think right there you kind of sets up your like dark undertone of the film.
Yeah, no,
It's certainly bleak.
Here's the thing about this film that I find fascinating. As a film focusing on stand-up comedians, I have hardly laughed at this film. Like, this is the most unfunny comedy I've seen in a very fucking long time. Like, George is presented as a shell of his former self, and then is punished further by getting leukemia. You know what I mean? Like, the comedy does come in, though, when we are introduced with Ira's character and just how naive and stupid he is, right? Plus, side note, I have like a weird love-hate relationship with the improvisational dialogue that Judd introduces.
It's very loose.
It's super loose.
Yeah.
It's just...
It works.
It does.
Sometimes.
It's great for believable dialogue just because it does feel like two friends just riffing, because that's exactly what it is. But then you realize like there's no script at this point, and then they just keep doing it.
Yeah.
And it just gets really stupid.
Yeah, the gag becomes more important than the plot or the film itself.
It's like a 5-minute gag.
Like, why is this?
I don't know what this has to do with anything.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So that's the film in a nutshell. There's two comedians from opposite ends of the spectrum. One searching for success in his career. The other was beaten down by his career. And the two learning to empathize with each other. Again, I believe a comedian opens the floor for empathy. But only when we understand their perspective. Now, there's a scene in this film where George goes to an open mic and just bombs. And, you know, us as voyeurs, if you saw episode 1.
Episode 1, are you watching?
Like, comment, and subscribe, you know, check it out. Sign up for our Patreon.
Anyways.
This is great. It's great stuff there. His perspective is shut off from the audience, leaving them confused. They do, however, see the perspective of Ira, who shits on George for his entire set, gaining the audience's attention and empathy.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If you bomb,
yeah,
you're going to be, especially for comedians, they're going to make fun of you.
No, it's part of the job. Like,
it's part of the culture.
You can't bomb. You can bomb. It's expected that you do, but you also should expect for someone to tell you that you suck.
Yeah. It's also kind of like low-hanging fruit, especially if a guy just really...
Yeah, it's kind of frowned upon.
Yeah. I mean, sure.
Well,
I feel like they still do it.
Oh yeah, because how else will you learn? Just like,
you're gonna learn today.
Don't suck today. You know? But it's interesting to me because not only do the audience members see his perspective, but so does George. And again, like you said, as a veteran comedian, he understands the assignment. Like, I fucking bombed. That sucks. You riffed on me. But also, you were actually funny, and I get why you did it. So I'm going to give you a job. And that's how they meet. Now, do you understand what I'm trying to get at with this? Like, basically, I'm saying that comedy is a dance between perspective and empathy.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. I feel like that's the most important thing. Like, comedy is going to be dealing with some dark-ass material sometimes. You're going to be talking about stuff that's taboo and controversial within society, right?
Yeah,
but
100%.
if it's done properly and tastefully, then you might see a perspective that you hadn't seen before. And that can open your eyes to something new.
Yeah. It'll
bring about empathy.
So, Ira, if you haven't picked up on it yet, is a selfish prick who will do whatever he needs to do in order to get ahead in life. And George is a lonely, selfish prick who pushed everyone away and only cares about himself to a certain extent.
Right.
Now, both characters are desperately looking for the same thing, and that's to be understood.
Right.
Comedy, to me, is best utilized by those who often felt misunderstood, and therefore it's a vehicle used to drive a person's point of view home to the audience. The more these two miserable people get to know each other and gain perspective, the more they can empathize and inadvertently tell better jokes.
Right.
And I find this to be very poignant for society today. Most people nowadays listen, but you only listen to build an argument rather than listening for enlightenment and understanding.
Confirmation bias.
Exactly. Like we can't compromise on anything because our patience for empathy has been severely diminished. I mean, I believe so. Don't you?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, I don't know if you've been watching the news lately, but aside from Amber Heard shitting on Johnny Depp's bed, there's some pretty dark shit that's going on in the world today.
I keep thinking about Amber Heard shitting on that man's bed.
I mean, I like he was like, I know my dog's feces. That was not my dog's feces.
That was not my dog's feces. To be empathetic for the terrible things that are happening, that's just being a human. Like, we're supposed to
absolutely
sympathize and empathize with the terrible things that are happening, and for the people who are going through misfortune, it's just unfortunate that it's happening so frequently.
I feel like comedy does a really good job of, like, by making a joke about it. Like, with any, like, myriad of dark subject materials, they have the ability to make a joke about it, bring light to it, and allow society to potentially move on from this really tragic events that potentially have transpired or have transpired, right?
Yeah.
Look at any number of comedians, right? Some of the best ones are the ones that are able to harness the tragedy of the day and able to allow a society to move on, to laugh, to move on, to like continue to live their life, And that's one of the beautiful things about comedy.
Yeah. Personally, I think empathy doesn't equate to forgiveness, but it does give context. Right. And I feel like it has to, if forgiveness is even an option, it has to start with empathy.
Yeah.
You have to know what's going on, or at least try to. And I fear that we're turning into a society that only empathizes when it's convenient. But that's literally when it's the least potent.
Yeah, when it's just confirming your bias, so you already have.
I mean? It's like, oh yeah, he's on my beliefs, so I empathize with you. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, what would you say would be right now would be like an example of like empathizing with something that is inconvenient, like.
I know there's a lot going on, but let's just for right now talk about politics, right?
Sure.
I think it's mad inconvenient to empathize with anyone in the far right because like they hate me,
right?
Me just like as a being.
Yeah.
It's very inconvenient for me,
right?
But also, I do understand what it feels like to be part of the disenfranchised.
Yeah.
I do understand what it feels like to not be heard or appreciated within society.
Yeah. That's one of the things I loved about like going back to it, like there are films that are going to give you perspectives on things like the indoctrination of our hate within the youth, right?
Yeah. That
hate is not something that you're born with. It's something that you're taught. Right, by people, right? That children, they're not hateful creatures or hateful beings, right? Yeah. It's adults that indoctrinate them with those prejudices.
Yeah, no, it's a learned thing. Yeah. It's a learned behavior in terms of hate. Yeah. Kids have the capacity to be motherfuckers.
Little shit.
Little shits.
Yeah, they're like little miniature alcoholics, right? They just will say anything that they want.
I mean, they're literally...
Yeah,
let's bring it back to the movie. So, George is a man that everybody loves, but no one understands, right? Only one person knows of his illness, Ira, and he feels and fears that when he goes away, eventually passes, no one's going to feel remorseful, right? No one's going to miss him. And it's only until Ira cries, which is actually one of the only funny moments in it, because just seeing one grown-ass man cry. That's what finally got him to admit to people about his condition, and he gets what he wants. He starts to reconnect with his family. He starts to reconnect with his friends, or like to find out he has friends, like real friends. Yeah. He finally reconnects and buries the hatchet with his former flame that he always wanted to reconnect with. He gets what he wants, and then he doesn't die.
Plot twist.
Turns out he's actually of the 8% that survives the experimental drug.
I mean, hey, I ain't mad about it.
And he's pissed. He's mad as fuck. He doesn't like it. Because again, this is a man who thought no one's going to be there for him.
Yeah.
And it turns out everyone's there for him.
Yeah.
And then it turns out he's not dying. So it's like, are they still going to be there for me? It's actually a really sad mentality, but it's something that I feel like most people relate to, where it's like, yeah, you were here for this thing, but once this thing is over, do you actually give a shit? How do you live your life without a reason for someone to empathize with you? Right? Like, you don't have this thing, this disease, this reason for someone to feel for you and understand you.
Yeah. I feel like if you say like, "Hey, I'm dying," there's a lot of sympathy that comes with that, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people want to empathize and they want to be like, "I'll be there for you. You're dying. I'm gonna be there for you at the end, right?"
And then you just don't die.
And then you don't die. But that, I think that comes back to George. You got to put that on George. You know that it's
No, it is,
he's gonna live, and so now you have the option to live, right? You know that there are people out there that love you and care about you. So what are you gonna do with that? Are you gonna just stay the same lonely asshole that you were before, or are you gonna change to something new?
At the end of the day, though, we all live on this planet.
Yeah.
You know, everyone at a certain point wants to
Kumbaya.
be understood. Kumbaya, my lord. Which is, like, to be understood is not the same as being accepted, you know? But we still need to try to be more open-minded and empathetic with those who deserve it in order for people to empathize with us.
Yeah.
You know, it's a give and take scenario.
Absolutely.
So I didn't write this out, but I saw the Kendrick Lamar music video. If you're familiar, Kendrick Lamar just released a single. I don't know if it's for his album yet, but it's a new single called "The Heart Part 5," and the entire thing is so poignant. I had to put it in. I'm still trying to decipher what if there is like a main thing. It seems like it's talking about a lot, but essentially he's talking about the culture of hip hop, the culture of the game, of gangster life, and just the culture of Black people and how problematic it can be, right? That it fosters these institutionalized ideas that are a detriment to us, but we're willing to give it all, like our entire being for it,
right?
Because that's all we know. And throughout that, he's talking through the lens of all these different problematic and somewhat and then some prolific Black people. Like he talks it through O.J. Simpson, talks through Jussie Smollett, which I don't know if you're familiar with. Jussie Smollett. I guess that's how I say it. Yeah, and recently Will Smith, and it hit me specifically just because I've never seen. We've talked about this several times as Black people, but I've never seen it framed in such a way where it's such a scathing critique of our culture.
Of Black culture specifically?
Yeah. The reason why I'm bringing it up is that he basically stated at a point where he acts as Nipsey Hussle, and he's talking from the perspective of the man who took his life. Right? He's talking to him and saying, I see why you did it or what happened. I forgive you, but know your soul is in question, right? Ooh. And there's something really powerful about that, and I feel like that's basically what I'm trying to get at, right? Where there are people that we're going to hate in this world, and there are people we're just not going to get along with. But empathy doesn't mean that we have to like you. I don't need to like you to empathize with you. I just need to see where you're coming from.
Looking at the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
I think one of the most poignant examples of this that I can think of right now is, the hate of Russo fear within this country right now. Like if you're Russian in the United States right now, you're not doing
no one likes
well.
You.
Nobody
no one likes you.
I think it calmed down a little bit ever since Will Smith kind of slapped everyone's attention away from the Ukrainian war.
I guess that's also again a good distraction of maybe we don't hate you as much.
Yeah, but even for the Russian people themselves, we're, especially as Americans, we're always told these are your enemies. We must seek out and destroy them. Please don't cut that one little bit. No, but I feel like we're honestly like given this perspective of like, hey, these people, they're our enemies. We must hate them. We must destroy them at all means cost. But at the end of the day, they're just human beings on a planet flying thousands of miles per hour through space and time.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, we're all just Earthlings on an Earth,
Yeah.
on a planet, right? And somehow we're all alive, right? It doesn't like we need to find a way in order to be empathetic to even like the people who are allegedly supposed to be our enemies. For in this particular example, the Russians. Not to say that there haven't been atrocities that the Russian government has done upon the Ukrainian people, because they have.
They have.
But is that every Russian citizen within that country? No.
I think that's just the thing about empathy, where it's like you open the door for perspective and you might get a welcome change.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I think it's a good point to possibly end the podcast.
So what do you guys think? Like, as far as like artists or stand-up comedians, right? What do you think the job of comedy is? Do you feel like it is something that, you know, is meant to bring perspective to something new to the general public? Or do you think it's meant to be just for laughs and giggles?
Yeah. Also, do you find it generally harder to empathize with people nowadays? Do you think that it's more required for us to empathize? Do you think it's necessary at all?
Yeah. We really want to find out what you guys had to think, and so leave a comment down below. And honestly, stay hungry, stay active, you know?
Cheers.
Have a good day.